Hello everybody and welcome to another one of my amazing videos. Today I'm going to be doing Karate Diary number 11. That's right, 11. I don't actually have enough fingers for that one, so that means I'm probably doing something right or not, I don't know. Anyway, today I would like to talk about Gashukus, but before that I'm just going to have a quick ramble on about some other stuff. Now, I've been training for quite a long time, as you'll probably get a sense of when you see how many Gashukus I've been to. And some people ask me, what level are you? And I say I'm brown belt, I'm nearly black belt, not quite yet. And then they ask me, well, how come you've been training for so long and you haven't reached black belt yet? And there are various reasons to this. The kind of people that ask me that are usually the kind of people that don't actually do martial arts, and to them reaching black belt is like the end, you've reached it, you are now the ultimate master of martial arts. Of course, anyone that actually does proper martial arts, proper karate, will know that black belt is actually just the beginning. So, if you're wondering why has it taken me so many years just to reach the beginning, various reasons why it's taken me a long time to progress through the grades. It's not because I'm rubbish. Firstly, I had a bit of a break when I was a teenager from my karate. I think I was out for like 2 years. So, but as you go up the levels, going up, 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 this is your skill, going up and up and up. And if you have a break, you don't maintain this level, your skill will drop. Your body becomes less flexible, you become slightly weaker, and you forget how to do things. It's like the particular moves from katas or different defences in kumite or something like that. So you go back and then gradually your knowledge and skill. So it takes a while just to get back to the level where you were when you had a break. Then I had another break again because I had a shoulder injury. Well, it wasn't really an injury, it was a defect basically. So I had to have that fixed. That took me out of training for a while because I was in so much pain. And then eventually I had an operation to fix the shoulder, and then once it was okay again I came back into it, but I had to take it easy. And again, so my skill level had progressed and I was out for quite a long time, so being out and out and out and out and out, and so it took me a while to get back up to where I was. And of course when you're out of karate for a while, then you go back into it. It can be really frustrating because you're trying to do things that you used to be able to do easily, and suddenly it's really difficult, either because you're not as strong, you're not as flexible, or you just don't remember how to do it, and that can be really, really frustrating. But I don't want to talk about that today, how leaving and coming back and the challenges that faces, because that's a whole set of unique challenges that someone that's been training straight through will never have to experience. Also lately with my chronic fatigue, you may have seen on a previous video I've done saying I have chronic fatigue syndrome. This is really, really slowing my training down at the moment. I mean, really slowing it down, because I get to class and sometimes I have the brain fog. Now, anyone that doesn't suffer with some kind of chronic fatigue or ME or something like that may not appreciate what brain fog is. I do explain it a bit in my other video, but when the sensei or whoever's taking the class is explaining something to me, it literally does not go in. My brain does not compute what they're trying to tell me, what they're trying to get across to me, and it just doesn't go in, and I don't remember things that I used to know. I mean, things like Ippon Kumite, for example. I love Ippon Kumite. It's just there, the two of you, and then someone attacks and you defend and you counter and take it down. It's brilliant fun. It's very intense. It's just very, calm, calm, calm. Short intenseness and then it's calm, and I love it. I couldn't remember a blimmin' thing the other day. I was there, the brain fog was there, I couldn't remember a thing, and I was like, what the hell am I doing? I was like doing kumite like a white belt and I'm knocking on black belt. This is another reason why it's taken me a while to progress through the grades, plus also the chronic fatigue. I'm not training nearly as much as I want to. I started making these Karate Diary videos so I could tell you how my training is going every week and all the courses I'm going on, and so far several of my Karate Diary videos I basically told you about the fact that I'm not doing karate at the moment because my fatigue is too strong. So, and also, if you're tired, you should go to karate. If it's just a normal tiredness from you've had a hard day at work or something, then you should definitely go to karate, because this will energise you, and plus, training when you're tired is good. You never know when you're going to get attacked on the streets, usually when you're going to be tired. So training in that situation is good. And I would always end the class feeling energised and invigorated and glad I went. Going when I'm having like a bad CFS day, that is different. I will often have to just step out and sleep on the side. I've mentioned all this before. Now, I don't really want to get too much into that, but I do want to get into talking about Gashukus today. The reason I want to talk about Gashukus today is because I should be going on a Gashuku in a couple of months. And I think I've mentioned this in a previous video, but I'm not going now. And quite simply because I can't afford to go. And the reason I can't afford to go is quite simply because I'm not working enough hours because of my chronic fatigue. There's only so many hours I can work before I'm absolutely physically exhausted and just have to come home and sleep. And because of that, I'm only earning just about enough money to get by, which means I no longer can go to the Gashuku. And they've just passed the point where they're doing it cheaper. They had like an early bird thing where if you book early you get a discount. That deadline passed yesterday, so now the price has gone up slightly, which means even if I was somehow to get the money now, it's going to cost me more. So yeah, I'm not going on this Gashuku, which is really annoying. It's upset me quite a bit because I actually booked the time off for this Gashuku back in December. And it's now May, and I just haven't got the money. I mean, I've had one thing after another. I've had I had to have some dental work. I've got to have new glasses. This prescription's wrong. That's always cost a lot of money. Work on my car. I've got my MOT soon. That's not too expensive, but I've also got tax coming up, which is going to take a lot of money. It's just so I took up past Gashukus. Now, the first Gashuku I went to was in 1995, and you're thinking, wow, you went to your first Gashuku in 1995, how come you're not a black belt by now? You should be a master. And yes, I should be, but for the various reasons I've explained earlier, my progression has been quite slow. So, this was my first experience of a Gashuku, and this was a really small Gashuku. It was only a small group of us, and that was actually quite nice as my first taste of a Gashuku. You got the intensity of it, waking up at 6 in the morning, going for a run or a walk. What did we actually do? I think we just went for a long walk in those days. Just a long brisk walk, come back, hard training, then breakfast. We did, on that particular Gashuku, was completely vegetarian. So that was really good. We were lucky because the place we stayed actually had a professional chef living there, and he did all the cooking for us. And I'm not entirely sure if that was planned or not, or whether we just got lucky. But we did do all the washing up and everything and cleaning, and so he just cooks and then we cleaned afterwards. Now, back in those days I was actually training with my mother, but I didn't really see too much of her in the Gashuku, so that it was, you know, it was my own experience. It wasn't like, you know, me and Mum together. It's like Mum had her experience, I had my experience. Everybody, I think everyone that goes on a Gashuku has their own experience, has their own story to tell. You could go on a Gashuku of like 50 people, and all 50 people there will tell you something different about it. They will tell you different experience. That's one of the things I like it. There's no like one Gashuku. There's almost as many Gashukus as there are people attending the one Gashuku, if that makes sense, because everyone there will have their own story to tell. So that was the first Gashuku I went to. We had some people from Switzerland over. I think there may have been some people from Holland, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure there were. And that was just a little Gashuku out in the countryside, and that was really nice. So the second Gashuku I went on to was in the year 2000. This was like a much bigger Gashuku for me. It was good that I'd already experienced one, a little one. I mean, I say a little one, it was still a week long proper thing. It just wasn't many people. This one was the first one I went on to where there was a lot of people. We had people from Switzerland over, people from Holland over. I'm not sure if there were people from other countries, possibly. And obviously Britain, oh, and Alderney. So this was the first like really big Gashuku that I went on to, and it was the first big big Gashuku that my style of karate, Kashido, had in this country. That video, unfortunately, out of the Brits that were on that video, there's only 3 of us still trained. There's me, obviously, John, who's now sensei, and Delia, who's now senpai. Everyone else, all the other Brits in that video, no longer train, unfortunately. And all the other Brits that train now weren't on that Gashuku, which is a bit of a shame that so many have left in the 16 years that have passed, but you know, life happens. Anyway, that one was a really good one. It was my first proper, full, intense one. We did all the cooking on this one, unlike the first one I went on to where we were lucky because we had a chef. We did all the cooking, we did all the cleaning up afterwards, and we did all the maintenance and housework like cleaning, sweep dojo floor before every class. You know, the very important things. In fact, every Gashuku I've been on since then, I think it's always sweep the dojo floor before the class. I think I probably did actually do that on the very first one I went on. I must have done, surely. I don't remember it though. Somebody must have swept the floor. Very important. Everyone got assigned different roles, different jobs. And on that particular Gashuku, we had tasks to do. While the black belts were having their specific black belt classes, everyone else had jobs to do, like gardening, and we were trying to dig some kind of hole or something. I don't know what that was for. I think it was supposed to be a pond, but it's next to a pond. I don't really know what that was. And some people dug a trench with some cabling. The Swiss did that. They rocketed through that faster than any mechanical digger would do. Very efficient. And there's people building a wall or something. Anyway, that was just like 1 hour out of each day or something, or maybe an hour and a half, while the black belts did their own training. The rest of the time we were in there training hard. So that was the first major Gashuku where I experienced you go there on the weekend and you don't know what's going to happen, and you're looking forward to it, but you know something good is going to happen, but you don't know what. So you look, and it's, you know, what's going to happen. And then by the Wednesday, you're just so tired, you want to go home, and your body hurts, and you're mentally exhausted, you're physically exhausted, you can't carry on. And then by the time you get to the end of the week, you really don't want to go home. And you see all these people, and you've been spending the whole time with them, sleeping in the same rooms, and you've been using the same shower facilities, and you've been cooking together and eating together and training together all week, and the week just feels really long, and you don't want to go. And then you do go, and it's like, oh, it's over. And then you think, when's my next one? I want to go on another one. A year later, I went on to another Gashuku. This time was the first time I went abroad, and I went to Switzerland in a little place called Stansted. This was a really good experience. I met a lot more people at this one from other countries, particularly there was a lot of people there from Australia and South Africa who I met for the first time, who a lot of them I'm still in contact with now. This was back in 2001. And what I was starting to experience, what then became a regular occurrence, was you meet everyone at the Gashuku, you have a good time, you train together, you have a laugh together, and it's all good fun. And then you go home, but then a year later you all come back together again, and you start it all over again, and it's like you were never apart, you know, and you exchange stories of what you did over the year and stuff, and it's a really good time. This was the first time that I'd actually properly experienced sleeping inside a dojo. Now, I've slept in many dojos since then. So before the actual Gashuku, I think, was it 1 night or 2 nights? I think we might have actually had 2 nights before the Gashuku sleeping in the dojo, and then we travelled down the road. We didn't go that far to where we stayed, and then we stayed in the big dormitories. And I still remember this quite clearly. One night I was learning Bodai Ichikata, and we're doing it over and over and over again, and I still teach katas today the same method that I learnt this one, because it really stuck in my head. We do the first move, then you do the first and second move, and the first, second, third move, third, second, third, fourth move, and then so on until you reach the end of the kata. And that night I think I stayed up until like 1 in the morning. This is back when I had a bit of energy, and I've always suffered with tiredness a little bit, but back then I could actually stay up learning bow kata until 1 in the morning. wouldn't even think about doing that now. But I remember that class, well, it wasn't actually a class, it was just me and one other person, and he was just going over it and over and over it with me, so I really knew it properly in my head, as I should have known it at that time, really. Now, in this Gashku, we didn't have to cook our own food. I don't actually remember the meals that clearly, to be honest. What I do remember is we went on the long walks in the morning. There was one morning in particular, we went on a long walk and we went up the mountain, and then the front group kind of went off in the distance and I was in the back group, and then we kind of got lost, and I don't know where we went. We went this way, that way, this way, eventually getting to the top and then back round and then back to where we were training. And then they're like, where have you been? And we're like, we have no idea where we've been walking for ages. That is the thing that I find with Gashukus. If the front group go off too fast on the morning walk and you don't know where you are, you're going to get lost. So this was a really good time for me. This is the first time that I met Hanchy Dennis. He's since passed on, but I remember seeing him for the first time thinking, wow, that's Hanchy Dennis. He's like amazing. And I remember sitting at the table and he just happened to come and sit on the same table I was at, talking to some people, and I was just there. I was kind of like starstruck, going, yeah, Hanchy Dennis. I didn't say that, I was just looking at him. That was what was going in my mind. Oh, Hanchy Dennis, you're amazing. Anyway, but in my mind, but I think outwardly I was more composed, you know, looking more calm. But I've trained with him several times since then before he passed on. Then the next one I went on to, again travelling abroad, was in 2003. This was when I went to South Africa. This was a massive Gashuku in 2003 because the style that I do, called Kishido, had branched out and was all over the world, but then another group which was associated with Kishido at one point had split away to do their own thing, and they had dojos all over the place, and we all came together for the first time since they split away. And then this was really good, and this is where I first met Ronnie Kluger, and I kind of did the same thing again, you know, it's like, yo, Ronnie Kluger, you're amazing. But I remember the first time I saw him, we're having a reception before the Gashuku, and like some meals and buffet and just a welcome speech, and I saw him, and I think my legs decided to just do their own thing, because I saw him across the room, and before I knew it I'd walked right up to him, and I was like, okay, I'm right up to him now, I should probably say hello. And it's like, legs, why did you do that? And then we've since become good friends, and in fact last time I saw him a few weeks ago, he gave me this t-shirt, so that was nice of him. South African Gashuku, that was really good. Before the Gashuku, we walked up to the Table Mountain, took some pictures, which is lovely, and then we started the week, and obviously a lot of hard training took place there, very big Gashuku. I took a lot of pictures, and back then digital photography wasn't really mainstream, so I had rolls and rolls and rolls of film. I had my bag was filled up with rolls of film. I had one compartment for film I'd taken, and another compartment for film I had to use, and I was just taking picture after picture, and then it's like, okay, get rid of that roll of film, new roll of film. Very hassly, but that's the way we had to do things back then, kids. Very expensive taking pictures, which is why not many people did it. It's not like today if you're digital, just snap, 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 snap. And what was nice about that, I met some more people, but again I met the people that I already knew from Switzerland, and I met the people that I already knew from Africa, which I'd met 2 years earlier in Switzerland, and of course obviously the Brits that I went with. Now on this Gashuku, we're all supposed to do a demonstration in the local town. Each country would do a demo, so we had some time in the afternoon to practice, but the British contingency didn't actually do a demonstration in the end, because one by one we all got injured. Somehow one person got injured, then somebody else, and somebody else, and then by the end there were so few of us left, it's like, ah, why bother? It's just, I do have a bit of video of this. It's terrible quality. I didn't actually film this. It's absolutely shockingly bad quality, but this is as good as digital video was back in those days, which is why people didn't really film much. The next Gashku I went on to was in Hungary. Now this was another big event. This was another anniversary Gashku, and rather annoyingly I'm not in the group picture, because normally when they take a group picture everyone kind of stands in like a pose looking at the camera and we're all in, but when they did the picture we're kind of all lined up along a thing and the camera was at the weird angle and I'm out of shot. I mean, I was standing there with everyone but I'm not in the group photo, and that's actually slightly annoying. It looks like I wasn't there, apart from the fact that I have many pictures of that event, and I do have a video of me at that Gashku, and it's one of my really old videos on this channel. It's like I posted that like 9 years ago, and you'd never know I was in it, apart from the fact I have stuck an annotation on the video to say this is me. And that was filmed in Hungary, doing a demonstration, and we're doing a high-end showdown kata. We come in, do the kata in like a star shape, come back in and then walk off. I had a lot of fun on this Gashku. I think this is one of the Gashkus I've had the most fun on, because of the people I was with. I was with a guy there called Matt, and we had a lot of fun. We went around town, you know, looking at things and, you know, doing universal body language, trying to communicate with people out in the town. I remember one day he wanted to get some swimming trunks and he was trying to gesture down to there to say trunks, and the person in the shop was like, what? And then it was like, no, swimming. And she was like, oh right, swimming. And their water there is a bit weird. I can't describe the water there, and we found the ones with the pink, the bottles with the pink lid tasted the best. So I'm trying to signify to the people in the shops, and I want the water with the pink lids, but we couldn't speak Hungarian, so I had like pink straws. It's like pink, colour pink on the straw. Lot of fun on that Gashku. Coughed a lot at night there. I don't know why. I found the nights quite bad. I don't know what it is about the air there, but it really affects my throat at night. Absolutely horrendous. By day it wasn't so bad, but night times I just couldn't stop coughing. But there was a bar underneath. Now on Gashkus it's quite traditional for people to get drunk in the evening and then train in the daytime. Get drunk in the evening, train in the daytime, but they actually had a bar right on the site of where we were training. So this guy, Matt, he would come in at some ridiculous hour, pass out in his bed, and then up in the morning, training 6 o'clock, yay! Then in the morning, we didn't do the walks which I'm used to doing, we went on runs. So up until that point, every Gashku I'd been on was like a really fast walk, and this one's like, no, we're going to go for a run. And it's like, oh, why? It's like 6:30 in the morning and we're going for a run. This is madness. There are points on the Gashkus when you have to like keep telling yourself, I'm here because I enjoy it. I'm here because I enjoy it. I enjoy this really. No, I do like it really. That's why I'm here. That was, I had a lot of fun that one, practicing for the demonstration. And I felt at this point my karate was really starting to progress. From this point onwards, for the next few years, I went up the grades quite quickly. I was in the zone at this point. This is before my shoulders stopped me training and before my chronic fatigue stopped me training. And I was, you know, really getting it. And also Kashido in the UK was doing really well at this point. We had 3 dojos which I would go to all the time. So I was training my own dojo twice a week. I was training in Windsor twice a week, and then I was going up to London to train there once a week. So I was training 6 times a week in total, and I was really loving my karate at this point. I was motivated, the people teaching were motivating, and everything was going really well at this point. And I'd been travelling to different countries. This was the 3rd country I'd been to for a Gashku, and everything was going really well at this point in my karate training, and I was having a really good time at this point. and then 2005, the next British Gashuku. This was another really big Gashuku. The 2005 Gashuku was a little bit different to normal because we didn't actually do an awful lot of our own style of karate. We had guest instructors in. We had Nathan Johnson, I think his name is. We had someone called Raymond Towers come in to teach some stuff, and we had I think some other guest instructors as well, and it was really good being there. Just seeing these other styles of karate, these other martial arts, and everyone was joking, you know, it's like there's a Kashido Gashuku and we're doing almost no Kashido. But I think we did a lot of push-ups on that one. In fact, we did a lot of push-ups on all Gashukus, come to think of it. There was one Gashuku in particular which became infamous for the push-ups. There might have been 2000 actually, or was it 2005? I forget now. But then soon after the 2005 Gashuku was when my shoulder became such an issue I could no longer train. I was in class, I was doing Seishin kata, I was like so, and the pain just became unbearable and it stopped me from training. I mean, even now, I mean, just I can feel my shoulder aching round the back. It's because I haven't like warmed it up properly today, and I need to you know, rotate the shoulders all the time, stretch them out all the time, keep them free, otherwise it hurts so much. But it doesn't stop me training anymore, that's the important thing. So for a long time I didn't train. The pain was so intense, I couldn't face it. I just wanted to rip my arm out. I did come to class every so often just to watch. Sometimes I'd film, sometimes I'd take pictures, just to show that I am there. I show that, you know, I am still interested. I haven't given it up entirely. I just can't physically do it right now. It hurts too much. Eventually I had an operation to fix my shoulder in 2010. It made it about 90% better. It's still 10%. Irritates me sometimes. So then came my next Gashuku, 2012. I went off to Israel, and hadn't done a Gashuku in quite a few years. This was quite an intense Gashuku, very hot there. Everyone's very friendly. This is the thing about you go to a Gashuku. Everyone's sort of a similar mindset and temperament and personality. No one's really got an ego. It's not about competition. You're not there to fight each other. You're not there to score any points. You're all there because you're all slightly nuts and you want to learn this art and this skill over the course of the week because you're all slightly bonkers. So they had subtle differences in their katas, couple of differences, like Seishin kata. They do that slightly differently to how I do it. That was really good. Now at this point my fatigue was starting to become an issue, but luckily we had really long breaks between the classes, and there were 4 people in the room that I was sharing it with, and between each class we would all just go to sleep, and we'd hear people outside. That there's quite a lot of kids at this Gashuku, and we heard them playing outside in the sun. It was very, very hot, but we all just came in and went to sleep between each class, and that was absolutely ideal for me, because my fatigue was starting to become an issue at this point. Not so much that I was getting the brain fog back then. I was getting the tiredness, and the brain fog came a few years later. So I was still able to actually absorb what people were saying to me. So that was a really good experience. The food was good, people were good, everything about that was good. It was a very, very good Gashuku, and I really would like to go back to Israel again one day to train with them, because they're so dedicated into it, and mainly because you know, them, you know, the people at the top like Ronnie, you know. You've got someone like that teaching you every day, you're going to be really motivated to do the best you can and give it everything you've got all the time. I remember he said to me one class, he said that my karate was robotic, and actually about 2 or 3 weeks ago I was in class and someone said to me, your karate is a bit robotic, and I'm thinking, really? After all these years I've tried to make it more natural and flow better, and I'm still being told my karate is robotic, so that's brilliant. that was a really good experience. I really enjoyed that one. So I'm glad I've actually finally now got a Hombo Dojo t-shirt from there. I do have Gashukus t-shirts from the event, but I now have a Hombo Dojo t-shirt as well. So that was really good. Again, sleeping on the dojo floor there, and also I slept on the dojo floor in Hungary. I forgot to mention that. Not in Africa. I didn't sleep on their dojo floor. And then the following year, I went back to South Africa, and the numbers. There was a much smaller Gashuku at this time than the previous one, because obviously the one I went to before, they invited people from many countries to come along. This next one I was at was a much smaller affair. But when I went to Africa, I was not just the only person from my dojo, but actually the only person from Britain that went, which is a bit of a shame. That was a really good experience, although by this time my fatigue was absolutely crippling me at this point. It really taken hold of me, and everyone was saying, you know, I looked dead. You know, the people were saying to me that I looked half dead, and I pretty much slept through the whole of Wednesday. People were saying that I looked ill on the Wednesday morning, and then at breakfast I passed out at the breakfast table. I woke up and everyone had gone, and I kind of staggered up to my room where I was staying and just fell asleep, and I just stayed there the whole day pretty much. I couldn't train that day. Fatigue was really just crippling me, and the breaks between classes weren't as long either. So as in Israel the year beforehand, we had nice long breaks between the classes, and also the other three people I was shown a room with were black belts, and they did additional weapons training which I didn't need to do, which meant for like an hour and a half each day I had the room to myself, which was actually really good, because then I could sleep, and you know, I can use the shower without being disturbed. So that was good time. Whereas in Africa the breaks weren't as long, which meant I didn't have as much chance to recover between classes, and it just wiped me out. Absolutely wiped me out. I remember enjoying it at the time, but to be honest, my memory of it is a bit hazy. I think this is where I was starting to develop the brain fog, as anyone with chronic fatigue or ME will know about the brain fog, and this is where it started to come in. So I wasn't absorbing as much information as I normally would, and that was the last Gashuku I went on. And then I was really hoping to go on this one this year to Switzerland. Now obviously I was hoping to make a nice really long video of my week in Switzerland. I don't know how much of the actual training I would have been able to film, because the problem is you can't always film when you're training. It's difficult to film and train at the same time. If you're like taking the class, you know, if you're one of the high up seniors like a Xi'an or Renchi or something, you know, you can walk around with a camera all you like and no one's going to question it. But if you're down at my level, you can't just step out of the class to film. Plus, there's always issues of people that don't want their faces appearing on a video that's going to be broadcast around the world on YouTube. So, but what I was originally intending to do was at the end of each day talk about how each day went on, maybe get someone else in the video to talk about it. I had it all worked out in my mind, but unfortunately I just don't think that's going to happen now. So I've also been invited to Hungary next year by Ronnie Kluger, so hopefully I can get some money to go to that one. And I did say I would go. I told him to his face. It wasn't like we're messaging over Facebook. I told him directly to his face, like, we're this far apart from each other, and I was like, yes, I will go to the Hungarian Gashuku next year. There's money. I also said, yes, I will go to the Swiss Gashuku this year. Money. Everything's about money. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to hear other karate stories, and then other places that I'm going to visit and train, hopefully if I get the cash. I do other silly things on this channel as well, but if you're not interested in that, subscribe anyway, just to keep track of my karate progression. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye!